We're almost there. Hold on.
Okay. You can let me know.
It
It's
did come through on
we're
mine.
good to
Donna.
go right now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
We're
I
almost-
was just, okay, I'm going to continue on. I'm sorry if you've just joined us, we've had a little bit of problem getting online, but we're having our community comments, and I'm just referring to the policy that we follow. Any individual desiring to speak will indicate their desire prior to the board meeting. Speaker will be required to give their name, city of residence, and the group, if any, that is represented. If there are more patrons desiring to present comments than time allotted, the chair has authority to reduce the presentation time for individual speakers or institute a prioritization process with first priority to students and city of residence. 3, speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs that are of concern. The board is restricted from hearing and will not consider complaints regarding any individual district staff member or person connected with the district. 4, as an organization centered around youth and a positive development, all speakers will model respectful public comment and mindful of civil discourse. 5, the board vests in its chair and other presiding officer authority to terminate the remarks of any individual when those remarks do not adhere to the rules established in the policy. A wide variety of individuals attend our board meeting, including students. Public comments must be appropriate for the audience, not create a hostile environment for those in attendance. Inappropriate language and targeting of specific groups is not permitted. You will be given one warning and then you will be removed. You will each have speakers will limit their comments to 2 minutes. Time will begin after you state your name and your residence. Our agenda allows 20 minutes for community input. If you're unable to speak today, then please write us an email. And there will be no transferring of minutes to another except when speaking for a child or student. We'll keep the order of speakers announced by me. After making your public comments, please exit the Zoom meeting. You will continue watching the board meeting of the North Clackamas School District YouTube channel. So first, we have Felix Kaiser, a student. So Felix,
I'm admitting him now.
yes, please admit him.
There we go. I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Felix. Go ahead and state your name, city of residence, and group, if, and then the clock will start.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm Felix Kaiser, and I am from Milwaukee. Let's see. Sorry, it looks like I'm frozen. I don't see. Oh, here we go. I see my timer now. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. Today, I'll actually be telling a story from a classmate of mine that they'd like anonymously shared. Are you a boy or a girl? This was a question I got asked constantly growing up, a question I used to dread. It sounded like poison being spat at me. I always knew when it was going to come up. It was previewed by the look. The look was always that of confusion. What followed next was the awkward silence of them awaiting my response and me trying to identify what my answer would be. As I got older, I got more and more tired of this dreaded inquiry. My answer changed from I'm a girl to simply I don't know. Not that my answer was a lie. In fact, I think it was the most truthful answer I've ever given to that question. We'd go to doctors and they'd tell me, you have to make a choice, boy or girl. How could they expect me, an 8-year-old, to make a decision that would determine the rest of my life? I had to make a choice now. I didn't know what to do. I thought I had years left of time. It was then when I was told about something that would be my saving grace in all of this, puberty blockers. It sounded too good to be true. A shot every 3 months that would give me 4 more years of time to decide what I wanted to do. But the option was very real, and taking it was the best decision my family and I had ever made. I took my last blocker shot in January of 2022. It was then that I had to choose, boy or girl, though neither of my options seemed like what I wanted. So I let nature run its course, and this has not been the most enjoyable ride. I still don't know who I am. I still don't have a correct term for myself or how I feel. Before this would have bothered me severely. I enjoy the anonymity of resting somewhat in the box. I enjoy being in the middle, between both sides of the vast gender spectrum. It's comforting in a way to me that most people wouldn't understand. There's a certain calm in not knowing exactly who you are, a certain halt to the raging war of picking and choosing one side or the other. I've now reached a point where talking about my identity isn't that and the next time someone asks if I'm a boy or a girl, I'll simply say, I don't know. Representation and advocacy for LGBTQ individuals in my, LGBTQ identities in my school life has really helped me navigate my own identity to where I'm most comfortable. I feel more accepted and welcome at my school because of policies and teachers that let me be myself. This kind of representation is something that needs to be strengthened, not removed. Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. Next speaker, Kylie Corbis, and will Michael or Jennifer be speaking for Kylie? Corbis, and will Michael or Jennifer be speaking for Kylie?
Michael.
Okay, go ahead, Michael. State your name and your city of residence.
All right, Michael Corbis, Oak Grove, Oregon. It happened again. I speak at a board meeting and then somebody says something online or in a meeting with me and proves my point. I then talk about it at the next meeting. Today is no different. A student made a video about all of us parents who have spoken out this last week. In the video, he told the students in your favorite bully group that if they all speak, we can silence the parents. A bunch of students agreed on the video post, one saying we should filibuster the parents out of the meeting. Right here. Where did they learn this from? Well, I'll tell you, they're learning it from you and their teachers, you, the board, in many lessons like this one on equity in my son's class last year. Take a look at this. It says on the first slide of the lesson, the first slide, there is no debate today. No debate. We're talking about equity, and it is one-sided, because the other side is rooted in racism and chauvinism. Those are a couple progressive favorites, racism, chauvinism. So open-minded. Actually, no, that sounds more like sit down, shut up, and prepare to be indoctrinated. This was her opening slide. How does that puts a chill on people's ability to have a conversation. Lessons like this is where they learn to silence opposition and people who see the world differently and believe differently. Sounds a lot like oppression, doesn't it? It's because it is. As I have said, if progressive students and parents and the district don't want to hear opposing views, then us families with opposing views need to be provided public funding so we can provide our kids with a private education that respects and honors us. Either that or things need to change now. It's a shorter speech today, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up, we have Beatrice Perkins, another student. Is Beatrice in the meeting?
They should be joining.
Okay. Do you see her? Is she joining? There she is. Beatrice, welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, state your name and your city of residence, and then you can begin.
All right. My name is Beatrice Perkins, and my city of residence is Milwaukee. I'd like to bring up the importance of the actions that our schools take to be an ally to kids in the LGBTQ community. Earlier in the school year, I saw a video posted by a student at my school that was directly homophobic and discriminatory. This justifiably had a backlash. While there was a specific response that was unacceptable, after this occurred, they and their family made a very general and aggressive claim that all LGBTQ kids were bullies and bigots. I'd like to make clear, one person does not speak for or represent an entire minority, and I urge you to acknowledge that. This turned into an excuse for being discriminatory, and that should not be tolerated. My teachers being openly accepting and creating a safe space for students such as myself and many of my peers is vital in combating the homophobia and transphobia I still see regularly. Hate directed at minorities should not be tolerated in our schools, and schools should not be enabling or allowing this to occur in any manner. While teachers and a district cannot control the actions of kids, they can control their acts of allyship and the environment they make their classroom. Kids having exposure to LGBTQ positive content in schools, such as books from the school library or queer activists implemented into lessons, creates a space in which all children feel represented and seen. That's exactly what school should be. Our schools should be a space in which all people feel respected. Debating or discussing policies is one thing. Debating or discussing someone's identity, this being sexuality and gender in this case, is entirely different and inherently disrespectful. I can't reiterate that enough. My queer peers and I highly value what the school does to be an ally. Things that seem small, like having a pride flag in the classroom or representing queer people in lessons, is of the utmost importance, as it shows students they are in a space where they are safe. As well as that, it discourages other students from harassment and bullying, which queer kids are statistically more likely to face. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, Michael Corbus, will go back to you for 2 minutes. Is Michael in yet?
I don't see anybody in the waiting room.
Is Jennifer Corbus? Okay, I could come back. Amy Reiner.
She'll be joining now.
Up again, I think.
Is Amy? Okay. Welcome, Amy. State your name and your city of residence.
Thank you so much. My name is Amy and I'm from Damascus. I'm a parent within the school district, and today I'd like to discuss the compelling library service presentation given on January 12th, 2023 at the board meeting, and thank that educator for providing such information. I do understand that there are many layers of the approval process for vetting books to decide what comes in and what comes out of the library. I understand that there are parents that can access the Destiny website to review the literature in our school libraries, and that there's an opt-out process that parents can take. My concern and question to the district is this: what policy and structure do you have in place if I opt my child out of a particular book, but that book ends up in my child's hand from another student that does not have a red flag on their Destiny account? This is a flawed opt-out system and can lead to emotional turmoil for a child if they are not aware of the content of the book that they have started reading. So here are 3 requests that many parents and the community members would like to have the board consider. 1, create a policy for reviewing books prior to purchasing and placing in the libraries. Number 2, create an oversight committee comprised of administrators, media technicians, libraries, parents, children, all within the district to help vet the books that are coming in and coming out. And number 3, remove the explicit books that have been found in your school libraries depicting masturbation, giving oral sex, rape, and human trafficking. A few titles that are in our libraries now: Flamer, Milk and Honey, Me, Earl and the Dying Girl, Genderqueer, and Sold. Let me be crystal clear with the panel today that we are not here to ban books. We are here to remove the graphic sexually imagery content from our educational system where it doesn't belong. If this material is potentially harassment
Amy.
in the
Next is, let me see. Let's go to Heather Dorn.
You should be joining now. And it does look like Jennifer is in the waiting room for reference.
Okay, I'll go back after Heather. Is Heather there yet? Let's go to Heather Dorn. Oh, yeah. Okay, Heather, welcome. State your name and your city of residence, and then
I'm from Happy Valley, Oregon.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Heather Dorn, and I'm a proud parent of a recent graduate from Clackamas High School, an 11th grader and a 2nd grader that I have pulled out of the district. I am proud to know that I have raised my children within a community where they have friends that have two dads, friends that have two moms, friends that are biracial, and friends that are completely different ethnicities than they are. For months now, parents have been coming to you as a school board with their concern about the trust that has been broken within our schools. 10 years ago, I held the hand of a very dear friend, I'm going to try not to cry here, whose son had been molested by a very close friend. Listening to the therapist speak on behalf of the victim was so disheartening. And as everything that that mother had instilled into her child, as far as nobody touches your private parts except for mommy, daddy, and a doctor, had been broken in secrecy by somebody else's in that child's life that they trusted. When our students go to school and have a staff member offer secrecy or encourage secrecy from us as parents, what does that say about our own parenting or the morals that are instilling into our children? Why is the elementary age children are encouraged to have secrets with staff members? Why can't they go to the library and read about books that are inappropriate with sexual acts and talking about what feels good on their body? I just don't understand how this is something that is coming out within the school. Watching the guilt that came over this mother is something that I will never wish upon another parent. Please know this has nothing to do about how we as parents that are coming to you today feel about the LGBTQ community and the support that we do want to offer to those students. However, the way that the school district is going about it is, especially by offering these kind of pornographic books within our library, is counteractive to what we're doing as parents. To be honest, I am an angry parent that I have.
Need to finish up. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Move back to Jennifer Corbis, and that's probably about all we have time for. I'm looking at my time. Jennifer there?
Okay, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Jennifer?
My family was referenced tonight, which is okay. I just want to say that clarify that the speakers are
Will you please state your name and
Michael Corbis,
your
Oak-
residence?
Oak Grove, Oregon.
Okay,
I
now
just want to clarify that it was mentioned tonight that I don't that I'm taking shots at all LGBTQ, and it's just not true. Every time I've spoke, I say this is not all LGBTQ, but it's the activist bullies in that group, which there are. And those kids, they like to skip over the fact that they took shots specifically at my son.
Okay, I don't want anyone targeted LGBTQ or any
I
student.
know, okay, I won't. But set aside what was said about my daughter. There's many screenshots that I could go over that they gloss over and they act like they were justified. Even a certain person at the district said that. So I want to make that clear. And this is really created by the oppressor ideology that creates this. And I would say this: if there's a topic in the school that kids don't want discussed or debated, I would say that's not education. And look, I understand they can be sensitive to these things. That's understandable. But if they can't be debated, we can't have a conversation. We need to take it outside the classroom and not have it be a part of that. It's better handled in a private situation outside of the school, or at least with a counselor. That's why once again, if you're not going to allow debate and conversation, that's how education happens. And that's how kids learn things that they didn't know. That's how they get outside of their bubble and they see things that they know. So I can appreciate both the stories tonight. In fact, I'm happy that these kids are engaging in the conversation, because for the first time, they'll probably hear some different perspectives and have to grapple with those, rather than just being able to say those people are evil and awful people. They'll actually have to listen to what other people say. That's a good thing. And so that's my thing. If we can't talk about it in the school, it shouldn't be in the classroom.
Both sides can.
Both sides. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that's unfortunately all we have time for tonight. You can write a letter And I do want to just comment that the Associate Director of Public Instruction and Principal did conduct an investigation on some of your concerns, and parents can always file a complaint through Policy KL. Please write a letter if you didn't have a chance to speak. We'll take recess and then start our meeting after this. Thank you. Welcome back. Everyone, we'll continue with our meeting. I was going to mention letters we received from last meeting consist of, there were only two that I know of: invitation to celebrate at a breakfast of celebrate Black History Month, and then a parent who was an educator and community member request to champion the rights of all children and their identities in our schools. So we'll next go begin with our native land acknowledgement. Vice Chair Benaloga will lead the acknowledgement this evening.
We acknowledge the land on which we sit and which we call the North Clackamas School District rests on the traditional and indigenous lands and village sites of the native peoples of the Kalapuya, Chinook, Molalla, and the Clackamas. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the ability to learn, work, and to be a community on this land, and we offer thanks to the original caretakers of this region. We recognize the historic policies of colonization, genocide, relocation, and assimilation that affected Indigenous and Native families, both past and present, and that will affect those in the future, and honor the resilience and revitalization of our Indigenous and Native communities. We pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, who have been the stewards of this land throughout the generations.
Thank you, Vice Chair Benaloga. Board members, next we will do the flag salute. Turn off your cameras. Director McVeigh, will you lead the Pledge of Allegiance and the flag tonight?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director McVeigh. In the board packet, you'll find the minutes of the January 26, 2023 meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Director Benaloga, I move board approval of the minutes from January 26, 2023.
Thank you.
McVeigh,
Is there a-
second.
Thank you, Director McVeigh. Second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Director Ford,
Aye.
Director McVeigh,
Aye.
is Director Perez here? I don't think he is. Director Schradel,
Aye.
Director Way,
Aye.
Vice Chair Benaloga,
Aye.
and myself is aye. So the motion passes with a vote of 6-0. In the board packet, you will find the consent agenda for this evening's meeting. The items of the consent agenda are around employment changes, policy, and travel requests. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda and state the whole motion?
Chair,
Director Way, I think I heard you.
All right. Chair Bauer, I move that we approve the consent agenda, which includes employment changes, policy revisions, and a travel request.
And that travel request is?
Oh, I'm sorry. The travel request is for Clackamas High School girls softball.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
McVeigh, second.
Thank you. We've had a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Director Ford,
Aye.
Director McVeigh,
Aye.
Director Schradel,
Aye.
I didn't quite hear Director Schradel. Was that an aye?
Aye.
Great, thank you. I got it. Director Vice Chair Benaloga.
Aye.
Oh, Director Way, did I forget you? I'm sorry.
It's okay. Aye.
And myself is aye. So motion passes with a vote of 6-0.
Chair Bauer, you keep fading a little bit.
My volume. Okay, I'll try to turn that up. This is my second computer tonight, so. Gosh, it's at 100. Can you still hear me?
It's just when you turn away.
Yeah.
Okay, I will speak closer to the computer. Next on the agenda is North Clackamas Education Association Featured Educator. I welcome NCEA President Melinda Ryan. Thank you for being here, Melinda.
Good evening, board directors and everyone else. Thank you, Director Bauer. This evening, I have the opportunity to honor the Educators of Color Affinity Group as our featured educators. This team of racially diverse educators, alongside others around the district, has worked tirelessly to provide a safe space of affinity for educators of color in North Clackamas School District. They hold bi-monthly meetings and family barbecues. They facilitate mentorship opportunities within their own team. They have worked to establish and facilitate affinity groups for our racially diverse students in our schools. They attend statewide workshops and bring back professional development to staff within North Clackamas. This team of devoted educators does everything possible to elevate the voices and experiences of the teachers and students of color in our district. It is my pleasure to celebrate those who are here tonight to represent the team. Those include Joni Kawasaki, Teresa Just, Ellen Megson Dyer, Amina Amdal Mason, Caroline Praska, Nicole Storm, Janice Bryant, Darnell Williams, and Mindy Stutzman. And I know Joni and Amina both have a few words to share this evening.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here and share a little bit about our affinity group. So an affinity group is defined as a group of people who are linked by a common interest or purpose. Ours is for educators of color around the district. This group is a safe space for us to come together and share our experiences, but also collectively have a voice in advocating for change for our students, our community, and ourselves. With our collective voice, we share testimonials from BIPOC educators around the district for the affinity group.
Here's one such testimonial. I have been working for years as the only staff of color in my building. Becoming a part of the affinity group gave me a whole new set of amazing colleagues who understand my experience. It has been an immense support both personally and professionally.
I have been the only person of color in an institution so many times, whether in school or on the job. The Educators of Color Affinity Group is the first time I've felt that a system sees us and values our experiences. It allows me to connect with others who are also fairly isolated in a building full of white perspectives, and there's always genuine support and love shown to one another.
During my first 3 years of my career, I was holding my breath for so long that I'd forgotten how to breathe. I took a chance during some of the darkest days of my career and went to the affinity group. To my surprise, I was instantly welcomed with open arms by BIPOC educators at various stages of their career. This hasn't been the case in mostly white spaces in our district. It was in this affinity group that I finally felt that I could breathe again. I was finally allowed to speak my authentic truth with my own words and with my own people. I didn't feel like I had to triple guess what I was saying. Without ongoing support of the amazing BIPOC educators in the group, I would not have been able to navigate the education system. Together, we're working for the recruitment and retention of BIPOC educators so that all students may benefit from the diverse perspectives we bring to the table.
I can't say enough about how thankful I am for the NCSD BIPOC Educators Affinity Group. The support and love and kindness I have received from the group members has been invaluable. This group is the place where I have shared my concerns without fear and not just received genuine support, but also valuable advice when needed. I feel valued and cared for by my fellow group members. I highly appreciate all the efforts the group leaders of the past, Desi and Michelle, and President Joni have put into keeping the group growing and thriving.
I was very close to quitting my work with NCSD when I turned to the BIPOC affinity group. I felt heard and understood by this kind group. They understood my concerns, validated my experience, and gave me good suggestions. I trust this group, and I'm so grateful to have their support.
When I moved here from the Bay Area, it was quite the transition, especially because I was coming from such a diverse community into one that was not. Having the affinity group was my saving grace. I felt welcomed and had the opportunity to make connections with other BIPOC educators that were experiencing similar feelings as I was and trying to find community among people that understood what it was like to work in buildings where we were the only person of color or part of a handful of people of color. I cannot emphasize enough how important this group has been to me during my time here, and I hope to see it flourish and be supported so that we may continue to have a safe space for our BIPOC educators, retain them, and support them as they navigate these white systems and spaces.
Whenever I get a chance to stop by meetings, I'm reminded I am not alone as a BIPOC educator in this district. It is a very empowering experience to sit in a room full of fellow BIPOC colleagues and just exist. Not having to explain myself or show up in a certain way, but to just be. I don't come as often as I would like to, such as the nature of having a busy job like teaching. But when I do, I feel at home despite not knowing everyone personally. The relationships I've been able to build through the group are very special to me and will be something that I think we will hang on to forever. It is a wonderful space that has been built over the years, and I hope it continues to be a priority for our equity-minded district. Thank you so much.
So anything else you want to say? Any other members here? I just want to thank you so much. Your voice makes all the difference in the world to our students and other staff in our community. But I will open it up and see if any other board members wish to say congratulations. I don't see any hands up, but thank you so much. It's such important work. And you'll hear more about, I think, your important work when we hear directly from the students later. Thank you so much. And Joni, it's great to see that you have some company there.
Yes, always there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank all of you. Discussion item is next, Clackamas Education Service District, no, board reports. Sorry about, okay. Board reports. Let's start with Director McVeigh.
Okay, I'll be quick. So I had an opportunity to spend a bunch of time at the volunteering for the Milwaukee Hall of Fame, which was great, and celebrated that at a basketball game against LaSalle. And then honoring those Hall of Fame recipients at a dinner at the Elks Club on the next Saturday. So that was a lot of fun. So spending time with NCE negotiations, although I had to miss yesterday's meeting. So thank you, Mitzi, for always being there. And then lastly, continuing on the benefits committee work, where the group does such an amazing job, with our mission of containing healthcare costs while ensuring that we have a robust benefit plan that provides value to our teams. And so that's always great work that those committee members do month after month. And a lot of great conversations, especially around the Oregon Family Leave Act that starts in September, and how that plays in with our short-term disability and our long-term disability. So big puzzle piece to solve, but the right people are in the right rooms to do that. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Director McVeigh. Director Schradel.
I attended the policy meeting that we had, which is taking on KL, the public comment phase, and a lot of good dialogue in that. We also had some other meetings, but I wanted to say I appreciate everybody's time this evening, and thank you for the public comment as well.
Thank you, Director Schradel. Director Way.
I don't have any significant board reports to share this month, but hopefully I will next time.
Yeah, you've been busy down in Salem, I know. Director Ford.
No board report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Benaloga.
Yes, thank you, Chair Bauer. I was able to go to the Mount Scott PTO meeting. It was nice to meet some of their staff and their principal, and they have a very active parent group there, and was a great discussion. I was able to attend the NCEF, the North Clackamas Education Foundation board meeting. I was able to attend one policy meeting and our wellness committee, and then our youth equity meeting, where I just kind of am a fly on the wall, and I get to listen to our very bright and wonderful students. I was also able to do some Zoom meetings with some new legislators. So important that we share the stories of our district, the things that are going well, and also where we need their help and support. And I just want to thank board members. I was out of town for a week, and so I appreciate Tori and Stephen and Orlando being in on those on the committee meetings, and appreciate the report on those. And as always, just thank you to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Benaloga. I will mention also the Youth Equity Committee, and they are, as Director Benaloga said, so well-spoken and so mature. And I've witnessed some of the same people popping up in needs assessment and maybe here tonight. So you continue to amaze me, and I just hats off to you and looking forward to your report. Ad hoc committee, that policy, I think we did a lot of good work, and we're going to bring it back to the board soon. And I want to mention again that the Legislative Funding Committee on the PCLA has set up some meetings on Lobby Day, February 20th. And there is we're Assistant Superintendent Committee, and they'll lobby according to North Clackamas School District legislative agenda. So there is a way to sign up. We're getting the word out. So look for it on the website. And then Bargaining Committee. I was learned so much there. So thank you all. Let's move on now to Clackamas Education Service District. I will welcome Superintendent Shay James for this agenda item, and she will introduce our guests.
Yes, good evening. Tonight, I'm excited that I get to welcome Superintendent Larry Didway and Board of Directors from the Clackamas Education Service District. They're going to share information with us on the local service plan that provides services and supports to our district. But before I turn it over to Superintendent Didway to introduce his board directors, I first want to just say thank you to all of you and your staff for being such great partners to our school district. Whenever we call you, you lean in and you figure out how to partner with us. And we are truly fortunate to have you supporting us in so many various ways. And so I just want to say we're grateful. And on behalf of our staff, thank you and welcome. And I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Shay. Superintendent James, we appreciate working with you as well, and it is our honor. As Superintendent Shay said, I'm Larry Didway, and I get to be the superintendent for Clackamas Education Service District. And joining me here tonight are three board members. Our board chair, Wade Byers, who can wave there, and our vice chair, Linda Brown, and also board member Lynn Mills. And they're here out of a show of support and our value for our relationship with North Clackamas School District. We come annually, and we really appreciate you making the time for us to come and share some of the things that are happening with Clackamas Education Service District, and specifically address the local service plan that we've developed for the 2023-24 school year, in partnership with all 10 of the school districts in Clackamas County. But before I talk about the local service plan, I do want to share a few thank yous. The first of which is going to be to Shay James. Dr. James, your superintendent, is a highly respected member of our regional superintendents group that collaborates regularly to share information and address challenges. And as we all know, there have been a few of those over the last couple of years, haven't there? I really value her insights and her contributions and her leadership. She is a great role model for all of us, and we appreciate her partnership. I also want to give her a shout out with her wonderful district team that included Seth Gordon and Curtis Long and Principal Kelly Rhea and her team at Alder Creek Middle School for all of their incredible support with helping us surprise special education teacher Ron Antlitz as the regional teacher of the year in the fall. I also want to call out Melinda Shoemaker, an experienced facilities leader who really supports her regional colleagues in many areas, including developing system strategies. And mention Eric Buck and Fiorella Kassab and Rob Holloway, who are our LEAP and Heron Creek liaisons, and they are incredibly collaborative, collegial, supportive, and really understanding, and we appreciate their partnership as well. If you can, board members, I would invite you to look at pages 10 and 11 of the local service plan, where there are other North Clackamas School District staff members mentioned there who are serving in advisory capacity with a number of groups that we gather. North Clackamas School District professionals make great contribution to these groups, and we really appreciate their contributions and their ability to collaborate and work with regional colleagues in advisory groups that are facilitated by the ESD. Also, while I'm a little late, January was Board Appreciation Month, and I would be remiss not to mention you as board members and our appreciation for you. We are very cognizant of the deep dedication and leadership that it requires to serve on a school board, and your volunteer service on behalf of the youth in our whole community and on behalf of public education is really valued and appreciated, and not just in January, but all throughout the year. And as a gesture of our appreciation, we have sent a set of note cards to each of you featuring student work from our 2022 regional art show here at Clackamas ESD. I also would like to take a moment to extend an invitation for any board member from North Clackamas to serve on our Clackamas ESD Budget Committee. It meets in May every year to review and approve our annual budget, and we have board members from several other school districts represented on this committee, but we would welcome participation from North Clackamas. So if you are interested, be sure to let your superintendent know, or you can contact me. A few notes about the local service plan that you hopefully have had a chance to review. It is something that we develop annually, and it covers all of the ESD services that are provided to the local school districts in the coming fiscal year. It is developed with the district advisories who are providing input on that plan development all year. And the plan is approved by the regional superintendents of our county prior to coming to you for approval, as well as the Clackamas ESD Board of Directors. The document really reflects a very robust partnership between the ESD and all of the school districts that we serve. It has a comprehensive review of all of our services, which includes the resolution services that are available to all school districts. And those include specific areas of special education, technology and data services, teaching and learning support, as well as direct revenue that comes to you to apply to ESD services of your choice. It also covers contract and grant services. Those are services that are available to school districts, but who select those and use their revenue to participate in those programs and or are part of grant programs that are funded through either federal, state, and then sometimes private funds. That covers a multitude of areas as well, including early learning, special education, technology, and teaching and learning services. And importantly, multiple student support services and district technical support that's provided through the Student Success Act. This document is here for you for your review and your approval, which I know you'll be considering next month. And before I pause for questions that you might have about that plan, I also want to share two other documents that we've brought to you for information. And one of those is the North Clackamas School District 21-22 fiscal year review. And in your packet, you should also be provided with a copy of the other county school district reports as well. But I want to highlight a little bit from the North Clackamas School District report specifically. It included more than $16.2 million in total services provided by the Clackamas ESD, and that was an increase of $3 million from the prior year. It also included $4.1 million in revenue that was funneled directly to you, and that was about $900,000 increase over the prior year. And again, with North Clackamas, we have vibrant partnerships in early learning services, including a free preschool program, efforts to improve support for multilingual learners, support for school nurses and counselors, help to mental health needs, providing special education services to students with very complex needs, improving and support for multilingual learners, STEM learning opportunities, and a range of data and technology support, and support for improvements to curriculum and instruction. We really hope that fiscal review provides some meaningful data for you and more context. And if you have any feedback on how we can make that report more useful to you in the future, we would welcome that as well. And then last but not least, you have a copy of the Clackamas ESD annual report. And that annual report we've provided, again, just to give more context and provide information about the impact that Clackamas ESD has in our region. And we do that through data, stories, and smaller nuggets of information. And I would call your attention here in North Clackamas to pages 26 and 27 that highlights your teacher, Ron Atlas, at Alder Creek Middle School as the Regional Teacher of the Year. And I might point out also, I'll brag on your behalf that this is the second year in a row that a teacher from North Clackamas has been selected for the Teacher of the Year award. And again, hope that annual review is useful to you, and we would welcome your feedback on that document as well. And with that, I'll pause and see if you have any questions that I can answer or comments.
Any questions or comments from the board?
This is Director Stradel. Just wanted to say thank you to the ESD for everything you do. You know, our servers are male. You know, you do so many services for us. It benefits the school district by having the partnership. All the fiber, I believe all the fiber goes from all our buildings to your location. And the support you've done over the years is greatly appreciated. So no question, just a compliment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Stradel. Any others? I guess I just have one if there's no other board member. You said there were increased mental health services. Could you just expand on that a little bit more?
Yes. Over the last 2 years, we have expanded our own staff and also supported school districts in bringing on new staff and in a number of mental health support roles. And most of that has come through the Student Success Act funding, but not entirely. We provide training for a number of staff, and I don't have at the fingertips a number of staff from North Clackamas that have participated in suicide prevention strategies and a number of other mental health first aid programs. So those are the areas that we've expanded in the last couple of years.
Is there any services for the entire family, or that's up to each district?
The Clackamas ESD does not have any family services, although we maintain a lot of relationships with some of our county partners.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I had. I really do appreciate your partnership, and you fill so many of our needs. We really appreciate it. So I think, and thank you board members for being here too, and the work that you do. We appreciate you too also. Thank you, Superintendent Didway.
We value the partnership. Thank you.
And I think this will, is that right, Superintendent James, that this will come back to us either the next meeting as an action item. We need approval. They need 7 out of 10 districts to approve it for them to have the plan. Is that correct?
You got it. Yes, it is.
Great. Thank you.
Chair Bauer, you're on mute. I think, not I think you are.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. Okay. Next, we welcome the mental health presentation by our Students Youth Equity Advisory Committee. And I welcome Executive Director of Student and Family Services, Myra Gomez, to introduce our guests. Welcome.
Good evening. It's a pleasure for me tonight to introduce our students today. North Clackamas School District prides itself in empowering students and being advocates for their learning. Student voice is key to informed decision-making and removing barriers. Tonight, we have members of the Youth Equity Committees joining us to advocate for more mental health support. Through their personal experiences accessing mental health services, as well as data that speaks to their peers' experiences, they will explain that while there has been an increase in mental health support in our schools, it is not enough. With us tonight, we have Isabel Resopuco, Brittany Nguyen, Rafi Bulaclack, Reagan Wally, Christy Tong, and Zoe Clowater. The presentation will be facilitated by our Associate Director of Student and Family Services, Barnaby Gloger. So, Michelle.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Gomez. And thank you, Board of Directors. Good evening. My name is Isabel Rexopuro, and I'm one of the students on our Youth Equity Advisory Board. Today, we're here to talk to you about mental health. Next slide, please. So, our mission today is to increase mental health services for students in schools and hopefully divert more funding for our mental health crisis. So many of you may be asking, why are we advocating for mental health? Well, the answer is simple. When we look at the statistic taken from one of our last Youth Truth surveys, students were asked, do any of the following make it hard for you to do your best in school? Over 50% of students said they felt depressed, stressed, or anxious at our schools alone. Because of this, we know that students want help dealing with situations, but there aren't enough people to work with them all. With that, some of the main factors that you'll be hearing about tonight is that there's a limited amount of resources available for all students. There's cultural stigmas within student groups that make advocacy difficult, no matter where you are in life. And there's also a lack of cultural sensitivity in our support, in our therapists, and in our resources. So tonight, you'll be hearing some student experiences and seeing some Youth Truth and student survey data. How it'll work is that you'll first see a slide with the statistic that corresponds with the student speech. And then you'll be hearing a student talk about a certain field in a student mental health crisis. And with that, I'll be talking about Hope Norman's experience. She's a junior and a mental health commissioner for her student council. Unfortunately, she was not able to make it tonight due to an athletics game that got rescheduled. The statistic you see on the slide right now has to do with athlete mental health concerns. Well, we can see there's been an increase in mental health concerns. When we look at the discrepancy between men and women's sport, it's almost double the amount that's being experienced. And with that, I will be reading Hope Norman's words. Hi, everyone. My name is Hope Norman. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a junior and the mental health commissioner of my student council. Today, I'm here to speak on the lack of attention for student-athlete mental health in our community. This is one of the many reasons we need more mental health professionals in our schools. I've been playing sports since I was 5 years old. Throughout my life, I've never had more self-doubt stem from anything other than sports. The amount of pressure that athletes of all ages feel to constantly perform at their best is incomprehensible. Coaches, especially, can make or break an athlete's confidence and overall experience. It affects us in every aspect of our lives. Despite my own awareness of my mental health struggles, a lot of athletes don't even acknowledge their mental health at all. We're taught to fight through pain and physical challenges so often that we tend to do the same with our mental battles, too. I'm sure you're aware of the value that high schools place on their athletic programs, but how can anyone expect our student athletes to do well if they aren't healthy mentally or physically? No athlete would choose to play with a broken bone. So why do we expect them to play when they are mentally ill? A broken bone shouldn't be used if it's painful. So Why should we push our brains to do the same? Student athletes are pressured to work as hard as they can and never have a break. If we even miss one practice, we can lose playing time, which is the last thing any athlete would want. Most coaches today are not understanding of athletes' mental health struggles. The balance of school, clubs, practice or games, sleep, and hours of homework each night make it very challenging to even schedule an appointment with a therapist. Oftentimes, I have to ask myself, what class do I have to miss today to go talk to our social worker? On days when my mental health is especially struggling, I feel guilty of missing a game, practice to go home and rest instead. There's often no excuse that is good enough to miss practice without being punished for it. We have busy schedules, and when we need a break, we don't get one. Our bodies are tired and our minds are exhausted. How can we expect our teams to do well if we don't take care of the athletes first? Our 3 counselors, 2 therapists, and 1 social worker alone cannot handle the increasing demand for mental health support for 1,300 students. It's not enough for us. The problem is, no one listens until it's too late. Today, I'm asking you to think about this the next time you attend a sporting event. We need more support, and we need it now. Thank you. And with that, thank you to Hope, and we'll have Brittany Nguyen speaking. She's a sophomore and also a student council representative. She'll be speaking about the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic has had on students. In the same Youth Truth survey, when students were asked if they knew someone outside of school they could talk about being stressed, upset, or having problems, our BIPOC students were consistently ranked much lower than their white counterparts. We ask you to keep this in mind while you listen to Brittany's speech.
Hey, I'm Brittany Nguyen. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm a sophomore. COVID-19 was a rough time for all of us. We all have our stories, and this is mine. I was 12 when the pandemic started. It was scary entering a world where you were isolated and alone with no one to talk to. The emptiness and frustration was driving me insane. It felt suffocating. Along with that, I was struggling with school, musical competitions, and finding out who I was as a person. All the stress from school, my home life, and the quarantine led me to feel so many overwhelming emotions. I'll admit and say I didn't have the best coping methods. The only thing that worked for me at the time was discarding my feelings and letting them rot. However, it's not like I really healed. I just moved on. But the choice wasn't mine. Since I didn't get the chance to truly process my feelings, coming back to school, I felt misplaced. I had forgotten how to make friends. I forgot how to communicate with others. So many years of being deprived of social interaction made it difficult for me to create new friendships. All I wanted was to be accepted by my peers, but I didn't even know where to start. Support was something I knew I needed, but reaching out was the hardest part. I wasn't comfortable being vulnerable in the presence of my counselor, but I gave it a chance anyways. When I did reach out, it didn't feel like I was getting the right support I needed. Our school's counselors aren't trained to be therapists. Their main focus is our students' academics. That is when I realized I needed support from a licensed therapist. However, I hear the amount of students complaining about the lack of mental health resources, and I didn't want to be on a waiting list for months and months when my problems would have felt like they didn't matter by then. Also, our only social worker at my school is booked for 2 schools. This makes students feel discouraged to seek help for waiting for what feels like years to have a conversation that lasts minutes. To this day, COVID-19 has impacted my life tremendously and my peers as well. From this moment forward, I want you to take into consideration the amount of students who would benefit not only mentally, but also socially if the district implemented more mental health resources throughout all schools.
All right, thank you so much, Brittany. Next up, we have Rafi Bulaklak, the senior class president of his school, to talk about the perspective of an independent student. The first statistic with red and blue is a statistic from our survey sent out to affinity groups. We asked students if they've experienced any struggles with their mental health. 65% of them said yes. And when asked if their job caused them stress, students receiving a C or below, almost 50% of them said yes as well. With that, I'll invite Rafi to speak about his story.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rafi Bulaklak, he, him pronouns, a member of the Equity Board at my high school and senior class president. Today, I want to address a very specific student point of view, one that is synonymous with my everyday life, one from the student held to a high academically rigorous standard while being independent and self-sufficient, and their wavering mental health. I moved from the Philippines the beginning of my junior year, solely by myself. I left the ones I held most dear, my family and every comfort, luxury, and indulgence that I, as a full-time student, took for granted. Whether it was a car bringing me to school, coming home to warm and nutritious meals, or even the bare minimum of a clean and safe study environment, suddenly, all at once, these responsibilities fell atop the shoulders of a 15-year-old Rafi, a weight that I still struggle to bear. Aside from this, it felt like I was entering the American high school system 2 years late. I believed I had to catch up with my peers by holding myself to much higher standards of rigor, taking 5 AP classes my senior year, juggling a part-time job for my daily allowance, besides necessities like rent, taking up extremely demanding extracurriculars, maneuvering between leadership positions, and generally trying to maintain a quality life for myself. I had spread myself so unbelievably thin, all in the hopes of achieving a greater education. I just wanted to be like my peers. However, in some ways, I am just like my peers. There are other students who, like me, have to choose between going to school and supporting themselves and sometimes their family with a job. Juggling these countless responsibilities, whether academic or familial, it is an incomparable mental strain. Students like myself aren't particularly vocal on our plights, but the dark circles beneath our eyes, the unexplained absences, they speak volumes on our capacity to maneuver the adversities of independence. But besides my own personal account, these statistics speak for themselves. Within 65% of students struggling with their mental health, a major stressor has shown evident correlation to familial and professional obligation. When almost 45% of employed students at Clackamas High School garner grades averaging at a C or below, the numbers show us that fundamental change within our system should be held to an exceptionally high regard, beginning by instituting an improved mental health resource system. Having to choose between warm, nutritious meals, clean clothing, and an organized home environment, or between getting homework done, is a choice no high school student should ever have to make. The implementation of more vitalized mental health resources within an academic setting is admittedly not the sole answer to this inequitable phenomenon, but it is a catalyst for change. Must students like myself have to rely on the foundation of a societal predisposition of wealth and privilege to even consider reaching these higher stratas of education? No, but we at least deserve the grace to cope, our plights be accommodated, and to be aided withal. Today, I advocate for an expansion and reallocation of funds towards mental health resources to set a foundational precedent for a more equitable tomorrow within the education system of our community.
All right. Thank you so much, Rafi. Next up, we have Reagan Wally, a senior student council representative, to talk about what happens if you can't access it. The first statistic on the left is from Thurvo, and it's an analysis of therapy costs per session, comparing two variables, those with insurance and those without insurance. As you can see, the discrepancy can be over $100. Below that, we have some notes from student experiences from our affinity survey. And on the right, we have a few more statistics from the Pew Research Center, one of which states that 1 in 3 of youth with depression are going without treatment. And 11% of Americans with a mental illness are uninsured. We hope that you'll keep these statistics in mind as Reagan shares her speech. And with that, I invite Reagan to speak her story.
Hello, everyone. My name is Reagan Wally. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a current senior and equity council member at my high school. I am here to tell you about my experience accessing mental health resources at my high school this last year and the difficulties I encountered in trying to do so. This is not the first time I have tried to access mental health resources. During my sophomore year, the pandemic really got the better of me. I fell into a depression and barely had the motivation to get out of bed. I was struggling with low self-esteem and worthlessness. I broke down and it became clear to my parents that I needed help. My mom tried for months to find me a therapist through our insurance, but there was nothing. Like many people, I was severely impacted by the isolation of the pandemic. Therapists were backlogged everywhere because so many were struggling. I eventually got through my depression, though I never really healed, but I was fine, at least for a while. Last year, my mental health got bad again. It got to the point where I knew I needed to reach out for help. So, logically, I went to the counseling center. I went through all the steps I was told to do by our school, by our district, to get the mental health support I felt I needed. I soon realized after the initial meeting with my counselor that this process was going to be a lot longer than I expected. Essentially, I was told no. I could not receive support from the so adamantly advertised school-based health center within our school. At the time, they were backlogged for 3 months. I could not receive the help I needed because, put simply, there was no room for me. Now, I understand that there are students that likely needed more help than I, but that does not mean I should be pushed aside. After being told that I could not access resources through my school, I moved on to option number 2, asking for a referral to an outside therapist. So I reached out to our school's social worker. This also turned up a dead end. Though I had left feeling uplifted after our meeting and felt I was finally going to be getting the help I needed, I unfortunately never received a call back. However, I don't blame our school social worker because I know she is stretched between not only all of the kids at my high school, but also the hundreds of additional students at the middle school right next to us. Only when I used my personal insurance and got my parents involved did I receive the therapy I needed. However, the insurance I have is expensive and not everyone has access to personal insurance that can cover the costs of services that are considered medically unnecessary like therapy. I had to recount my insecurities and fears to 4 separate people. This was not something I wanted to do, but because of the way our system is structured, I had to. I didn't enjoy being on the verge of tears with people I barely knew, but even worse, I had to be on the verge of tears with people that never even got me the help I was looking for. I am lucky enough to have parents that will help me no matter what I am struggling with, but this is not the case for every student in the North Clackamas School District. I was in a place where I could advocate for myself, but there are so many who are not in the same place to do so. As a leader on student council, of course, I'm already familiar with self-advocacy, but even so, I still struggled to get help. So if I was having trouble getting help, imagine the students that are not used to advocating for themselves. Being able to receive help would be nearly impossible. I was able to receive the help I needed, but not from the place I was promised. Today, I am asking the district to expand mental health resources for all students, even if insurance doesn't deem their problems as severe enough for coverage. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Reagan. Next, we have Christy Tong, who is the junior class president for her student council. On the left, we have another statistic from the survey we sent out to affinity groups, asking if they considered the discussion of mental health as a taboo in their household or in their culture. 47% of students said yes. Additionally, when asked how they felt about their life in a Youth Truth survey, Asian Americans ranked one of the lowest about how they felt about their life. Today, Christy will be talking about the so-called model minority and share her experience.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christy Tong. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a current junior and also a member of the Equity Committee. Today, I want to talk about my experience with mental health and why we need to step up and provide more mental health resources for the so-called model minority and burnt out students. When I was younger, I had my whole life planned out. I dreamed of being valedictorian, taking a crazy amount of AP classes and getting 5s on the test, go to Stanford and become a renowned neurologist. Oh, how did my young self underestimate how challenging it would be? As you know, I'm a junior. You know what that means. I need to start looking at colleges. I have to build my portfolio up by volunteering, having clubs to lead, and I'm expected to practice piano for at least 2 hours daily. And I stay up as late as 1 to 2 a.m. just to finish my homework. As I step closer to adulthood, the less motivation I get. Every time I get those late night thoughts, my mind circles around the question, what am I going to do in the future? I felt stuck, burnt out, and disappointed. I have a loving family with everlasting support, and I want to be the first Dr. Tong like they want me to. But I don't even know if I want to be a doctor. Some would look at my situation and say, it's okay to take time off and focus on yourself. But this does not apply to me. My parents are immigrants from Vietnam, where education is valued the most. Mental health is taboo and shunned at the dinner table. If you're sad, just get over it. You're just choosing to be sad to make excuses for your laziness. You have everything you need in life. Why are you like this? I can't talk to anyone about this except people who are like me. Someone who understands the values I've lived with and the situation I am in. The only people that actually understand are my friends, but they're just like me. They're kids. They have their own problems and they don't need any more problems in their life, which is why we need more BIPOC representation. There are many students who are in the same situation as I am, but they don't reach out because they feel like their struggles are invalid or that they just don't have anyone to relate to. I wish there was someone here at school that I can talk to, that I can trust and understand that values that I and many other people of color have grown up with. It's mentally draining to have to explain to a white person about the struggles I deal with in my own culture. It is more than just therapy. There needs to be more options. We need more culturally sensitive and responsive mental health resources for people of color so we have someone who understands the nuances of our culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Now I'd like to invite Zoe Clowetter to speak about her advocacy for LGBTQ students. In a Youth Truth survey, when asked, overall, how do you feel about your life? Students identifying as LGBTQ ranked 0.72 lower than students not identifying as LGBTQ. That discrepancy is why Zoe is here today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Zoe Clowetter, and I am the co-commissioner of the Equity Committee and the co-president of the GSA at my high school. And some of you may know my mom, Dr. Suzanne Clowetter, who is on the North Clackamas PCLA. I'd like to continue the conversation with my peers about the drastic need for mental health support for students in this district, specifically LGBTQ+ or queer students. As I said, I am the co-president of the GSA, or the Gender Sexuality Alliance, and I have been for 2 years. On Thursdays, I walk into that room and I ask students to share how they're feeling. I've heard about students who are called slurs in bathrooms, in hallways, in class. I've heard about students having nervous breakdowns and struggling with gender dysphoria. I've heard about students who need help but cannot access the resources they need. I've experienced a lot of these things, and it's affected how I present myself, how I interact with my peers, and how I carry myself in this school. These are not unique experiences for queer students. I'm sure everyone in this room knows about the statistics for mental health challenges that queer children face, including how high our suicide rates are and how low our life expectancy is because of that. It's only amplified if you are queer and a person of color. The problem is, for queer students and so many others, support can't always come from counselors or parents. When students cannot go to counselors or their parents, they go to trusted adults like their teachers, who are often people experiencing the same things they do. This is rapidly becoming a problem for queer teachers and teachers of color. On top of everything that educators have to do, they cannot be in charge of ensuring students' emotional well-being. They have good intentions, but they're not trained to support us in that way. That has to be up to the counselors and social workers and mental health professionals. We have amazing resources that we continue to direct students toward. The problem is that we don't have enough of them. When we need support, we are told to go to our counselors, and they're completely booked for weeks. And not only that, they aren't solely focused on students' mental health, but also their academics, and they have the massive job of scheduling. We turn to our school social worker and the therapists at our school-based health center, and they're doing critically important work, but they're already at full capacity. 7 people, no matter how well trained or how dedicated they are, they're still insufficient for 1,300 children, especially when you consider that we're all suffering collective post-pandemic trauma before you even begin to think about other mental health struggles and recognize that for queer students, all of that trauma is amplified. There has to be more support for queer students' mental health. When we examine the data that we received from the Youth Truth Survey, we recognize that there is an alarming discrepancy between queer and cisgender heterosexual students. That discrepancy will continue to get worse without support and is already having extreme consequences for queer students in our schools and in our community. We have mental health resources, and we have proof that they work. We just need more of them in order to support the number of students who need help. And in order to do that, we need to direct more funding. That's what I'd like you all to focus on today as we reflect on the comments from the students that we've heard and the ones we will hear. We know how to access these resources, and we know that they work. We just need more of them. Thank you.
All right. Well, now I'll be speaking about expanding our resources. Another introduction if you've already forgotten, but I'm Isabel Rexapuro. I'm a senior and I'm an equity commissioner at my student council, and I'm also on the Youth Equity Advisory Board. Today, I'm going to be talking about the importance of having not only consistent therapy, but having therapy to access in general. So the first statistic we can look at is on a study done for people who regularly attend their treatment appointments. So in a survey of hospitals, 80% of people who schedule their treatment appointments go to their first one. But once they've scheduled more than 2, that number drops to 50 and then halves again at 5. And when we asked our affinity group students if they ever experienced a situation where they had advocated for their mental health and were able to access it, we had 33% of students say yes. And with that, I'll begin my story about accessing mental health resources at my high school. Hello, everyone. My name is Isabel Rexapuro, and I'll be expanding more on this issue of student mental health. Quick trigger warning, my speech will have mentions of suicide. So if you need to turn off your computer or step back for a little bit, that's totally fine. Junior year is always a stressful time, EP classes, extracurriculars, the works. But on top of all of that, my junior year, we were coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, where I had felt disconnected to the people around me, whether it was my friends or my teachers. I knew that many of my fellow juniors were feeling this pinch as well. But for me, it manifested in thoughts of suicide. For a long time, I didn't know where to turn or where to start. But then I stumbled across the school-based health center at my high school, and I was relieved to find out that I could access reliable, free therapy at my own school. Despite actively contemplating suicide, I was informed that access to resources were limited and that it would be months before I could get an appointment. Luckily, they understood the severity of my situation, and through my own self-advocacy, I was expedited and moved to the top of the list. This ultimately meant, rather than waiting months for an appointment, I could get an appointment in 2 to 3 weeks. Think about that. In midst of a mental health crisis, I was lucky enough to get an appointment in 2 to 3 weeks. But for some people, that might be too late. However, today, I want to talk about the positive impact that came from this experience. That little light that keeps us going at the end of the tunnel. After a few months of struggling and constant therapy, my mental health improved significantly. Due to being able to access therapy at our school-based health center during my classes or my lunch period, I was able to get regular weekly appointments. If you look at my current charts, my anxiety levels have significantly improved, and I've genuinely felt better as a result. I am living proof that the initiatives the community have pushed out are working, but I also know that we could help so many more students with more funding for more full-time therapists and so many more resources. I'm not the only one struggling with my mental health. My friends, my classmates, they're all trying to get help. But our limited mental health professionals cannot handle the entirety of our schools. According to the Princeton Review, 1 in every 4 persons experience some form of mental health struggle. That means in a school of 1,200, at least 300 persons are struggling with mental health. Exacerbated by the impact of COVID-19 and overall high school stress, that number is likely to be much greater. 2 therapists and 1 social worker stretched amongst our entire school cannot handle the volume of students needing help. Today, I'm asking you to look at what resources this district has in place to support students and ask yourself, is it enough? I want to ask for further consideration for directing funds for more mental health resources, because the impact we could have on so many more students with a further expansion of these valuable resources could be resounding. Thank you. And with that, I'd like to conclude our presentation with giving another overall summary of our speeches. So a really big contributor here is that students after the COVID-19 pandemic are obviously very stressed out and find it difficult to adjust on top of all these societal issues that we have to deal with. And because of this, the problem is that students all over are experiencing a mental health crisis. The solution to this would be to increase the number of support. So this would look like staff and resources, and diversify our methods to better support students. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to us. Thank you to Dr. Mayra Gomez and Barnaby for coaching us and mentoring us throughout this entire process. And thank you to the board and Dr. Shay James for making this happen. We're really grateful and thankful for the time you've allocated for us. Are there any questions?
Thank you, all of your speakers. You spoke from your heart and you spoke your truth. Thank you so much. I will open it up to our board. Maybe I should just call on them. I can't see all of them, and see if they have comments or questions. Director Ford.
Hi, everyone. First and foremost, it is a special gift to be able to share complicated information. So I really appreciate you taking the time and the space you needed to be able to do that this evening. In addition to that, I think this is really good data. It definitely impacts a lot for me personally, but also I think it can inform us in many ways. So all that to being said, that I still believe that children will always lead us the right way. And so I appreciate you guys showing up today.
Thank you, Director Ford. That means a lot.
Thank you, Director Ford. Director McVeigh.
I just want to say thank you for all really the volunteer work you're doing in your classes with your groups. As I see a bunch of future board members, and and I so appreciate you and the presentation, and like Director Ford said, your bravery, because it means a lot. Nice job.
Thank you, Director McVeigh. Director Schradel.
My microphone's on, but I'm pausing. Impactful, very impactful. Mental health is something that we must get past being ashamed and thinking that we're alone. We're just one human away from talking to a new human to help us. Since we heard stuff that is concerning, everybody needs to reach out to everybody else, make sure that all the students and families are safe, because of the content is very serious. The safety of all students is very important. So thank you for sharing your journey. You help other people with your words.
Thank you, Director Schradel. Director Way.
Hi, Isabel. Great to see you, and also just to all the other student leaders who are here this evening. Thank you so much for just sharing your stories and your experiences. And sometimes I know you probably get tired of adults saying that without, putting any action right into the words. I, as just one board member, want to commit to the ask that you have brought, the many asks that you have brought forward this evening, which is more mental health resources, specifically culturally specific resources like therapists, folks who look like you, folks who come from your different identities and experiences. I think that is so key and that is so important. And unfortunately, it's not just a North Clackamas school district problem. It's an Oregon problem. It's, an American problem that we just do not have enough folks who are doing prevention work in every place. So you have at least, one commitment from me that I don't know all the answers, but I am going to fight very hard. I think you just lit a fire in me this evening that I knew was coming, but I think you just sparked it a little bit brighter to keep advocating for the resources that you have asked us to find as school board members. And then, lastly, I just want to say that, thank you for coming just tonight, but please keep showing up if you're able to. We know you're all tired. We know you have so many things going on in your lives, but this is the exact type of student leadership and student voice that, we want to continue to see on our board, in our board meetings. Just the fact that, Isabel, you and so many others also joined our very first, annual, the Student Equity Committee. It also just goes to show, how much we need to continue to really center student voice and your experience in all the decisions that we make as a board. So thank you again for coming. Thank you again for reminding us, whose voice is important, and it is you all's voice. That's the reason why we're all here today, is to make sure that your futures are safe and secure, and that many others that come before you feel supported and healthy in our school and in our community. So thank you again.
Thank you, Director Way. Vice Chair Benaloga.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Isabel, and the rest of the committee for coming and presenting this evening. I think it just takes a lot of courage to come and talk about really hard things and to share that in a public space. So I really admire all of you. And I think that you brought up several things that are so important. And one of those things is catching and being available and having services available when the crisis happens, and being able to help hopefully create a safe space so that it does not spiral out of control. I think that is so important, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. And I also appreciated hearing that we do need to diversify our methods. There's lots of things we can be doing. I know that I know, again, I echo so much of what our other directors have said, that there isn't just one answer, and I don't have all of the answers, but I know that there's so many people that want to leverage dollars and partnerships, and that there's more than one way and there's more than one answer. And we definitely, I know that I too am just very committed at looking at those situations and doing everything that we possibly can. And I also want to just say one more thing, that I appreciate all of you being that you're acknowledging what there is in your school, that there are social workers, that there are people that are there. There's just not enough people, so that there's not enough availability. I know you've got some really amazing people in your schools, but I appreciate the acknowledgement of that, and appreciate all of your time. I know you're busy, and I know you guys have a lot on your plate, so I appreciate you taking your voice and your time to come to the board and to share with us. It's truly invaluable, and you are the voices that we need to hear. Yours are the voices that we need to hear, especially when you're struggling. So I want to just echo those sentiments, that we do appreciate your time and your presentation and your thoughtfulness.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with all of the comments made. You made the data real. We've looked at data before, but your stories made it real. Thank you for being brave, wise beyond your years, so well-spoken, great leaders. I saw a quote today, and it reminded me of your talking tonight. You must be the change you wish to see in the world, but we need to support you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the information. Great presentation. Next on our agenda is the partnership with the school-based health centers. And I would like to welcome again, Executive Director of Student and Family Services, Myra Gomez.
Tonight, we will share with you how the North Clackamas School District meets students' medical needs, specifically through our health-based health centers. School-based health centers have been partnering with the North Clackamas School District since 2012. We will review our partnerships with the agencies that operate our school-based health centers and the state and federal laws that govern consent to services and student health information. The information will be shared by Associate Director of Student and Family Services, Barnaby Glover. Barnaby?
Thank you so much, Dr. Gomez. I'm just going to share my screen here so we can get started. And you see my screen?
Mhm.
All right, cool. Thanks. All right, well, thank you so much, school board members, Superintendent James, for having us tonight, and good evening to the North Clackamas community, all those watching this board meeting. It's great to be here and present to you about the school-based health centers, our partnership with the agencies that operate them, and the ways that they serve our students and families. I also want to recognize the student leaders that just spoke. It was so powerful and just amazing how they shared their stories and experiences as it relates to mental health. So thank you to those students. I'm Barnaby Gloger. I am the Associate Director of Student and Family Services, and I'm joined tonight by Claire Davis Thran, our nurse lead from our nursing team, which is part of NCSD's Student and Family Services Department. Just real quick, I want to talk about our Student and Family Services Department that began last school year in an effort to bring together a number of district social services, student support programs, new staff that came in through the Student Investment Act. And it's been my pleasure to serve with the team in my role as Associate Director. Student and Family Services team empowers all students, families, and staff by removing barriers and collaborating with schools and families to meet student academic, social, emotional, mental, and physical needs. Student Family Services represents a variety of student support and community engagement programs, promoting health and wellness of all. The Student Family Services include staff and programs that work outside the classroom to help students meet academic, social, emotional, mental, and physical needs. As you can see, this feeder pattern wheel of support, there are a number of support staff that come together, aligning with teachers, administrators, and other staff to provide tiered levels of support to students and families. So when we look at this wheel of support, we see just all the different support through their staff members to support our students and their families, like our community liaison and outreach facilitators who connect with students and families to help them navigate the educational systems and consult with schools. Our McKinney-Vento team of liaisons and student and family advocates who support our students and families surviving through housing transitions and homelessness. Our school social workers that we've heard about tonight who meet with students and link students and families to resources in our schools and community. Our engagement specialists that connect with students, some who are facing barriers to come to school, and they work to re-engage with those students and bring them back to school. And then we have our nursing team that provides for the medical needs of students at school, all working closely together with our school counselors. Additionally, there are a number of programs that we oversee. For example, our food pantry and clothes closet at Wichita that provides food and clothing to a growing number of students and families in need, our Backpack Buddies programs, our holiday giving programs, and many more. Student and Family Services also works with community partners who provide for the mental and physical health of our students. And that's where the school-based health centers come in. Tonight, Claire and I would like to share with you information on the school-based health centers that operate in NCSD, what this partnership looks like, why they are so vital to student success, and the state and federal laws that dictate how NCSD and the school-based health centers handle consent to services and sharing of health information. I'll also be sharing information about where they are and how our students can access them. So what is a school-based health center? Simply put, a school-based health center, or SBHC, is a full-service doctor's office located in a school or on school premises. School-based health centers are a national model designed to improve access to healthcare by reducing the barriers that prevent youth from seeking health services, barriers such as inconvenience, cost, transportation, and apprehension about discussing personal health problems. School-based health centers provide care, primary health, mental health, dental health, counseling, family outreach, chronic illness management, without concern for the student's ability to pay in a location that meets students where they are at school. So Clackamas County, who operates 3 of our 4 school-based health centers, put together a short video that I'd like to play for you. I want to make sure sound and everything works well, so I'm going to start it and pause it right away. And please let me know if it's not working. So this is just a short video about the school-based health centers. Nope.
We all need.
All right, here we go.
We all need support sometimes, like when you're overwhelmed and you need someone safe to talk to. Maybe you start feeling sick in class or need a physical for sports. Then there are those times when what you really need is some privacy, a little advice with no judgment. Whatever you're going through, there are medical, dental, and mental health services at no cost to you, right at your high school. We're here for you. The whole.
Right. So research is clear that healthy students can learn better and have better attendance. I mean, that makes sense. If you're healthy, you're going to be able to focus better in class, do better, have more success. But the reality is there are a number of barriers for many of our students to receive adequate health care. Many students do not have health insurance. Even for those who do have health insurance, access can be a big issue. It can be difficult for parents to get time off work to take their student to medical appointments that are often far away. So it's been the goal of North Clackamas School District to assist in providing access to quality healthcare for all students in the district so they can stay healthy and in school. And so that's where the school-based health centers come in. The goals of the school-based health centers are to improve access to affordable, quality primary care and mental health services for school-aged youth, provide patient-centered care for all students, regardless of insurance status, reduce costs related to unnecessary hospital stays and use of emergency rooms, improve educational outcomes because healthy kids learn better, and save parents time by reducing missed work hours. So this all started, well, it started before that, but the first school-based health center started in 2012 in North Clackamas School District. Prior to that, I've heard stories about the bus that was driven onto campus to meet medical needs of students and different grassroots things done to meet student medical needs. But in 2012, we saw our first school-based health center at MHS and MA, and since then it's expanded. So we now have 4 school-based health centers across the district. We have partners who operate these school-based health centers. 3 of the 4 are operated by Clackamas County. The one at Milwaukee High School in Ma is operated by Outside In. And then in the school-based health centers, our partner agencies, Life Stance and Trillium, have mental health therapists who are able to support and meet with students in those school-based health centers, just like you heard about earlier in our student presentation. NCSD provides the space, and these entities provide the services. These agencies operate the school-based health centers, provide the services, and manage themselves. They are not part of NCSD. They're not part of our staff or our budget. NCSD just allows the space. Unfortunately, even with these strong partnerships and services they provide, it has been difficult to meet all the needs our students are facing, as the earlier student presentation demonstrated. For example, our community partners that provide school-based therapy, like Life Stance and Trillium, have shared that it's very hard to hire therapists. There's a huge need for therapy, as we heard about. Just finding therapists to hire who are qualified mental health professionals is really, really challenging. Oops. All right. We know there have been questions from the community about the school-based health centers, student and parent rights, sharing of information. We also want to clarify the difference between medical care provided by NCSD, by our school district nurses, and the medical care provided by our partners in the school-based health centers, which are not run by NCSD. So Claire Davis-Thran, our nurse lead, is here to talk about the role of a school district nurse, how our nurses collaborate with the school-based health centers, and important state and federal laws that dictate how students can access and consent to services and what health information can be shared.
Good evening. I'm one of the North Clackamas School District nurses here to share about the nursing team's roles in our schools and a bit about how we collaborate with the student-based, school-based health centers. Your district nurses are registered nurses who practice within the schools. We serve the entire student population, both in the general education setting and those that need special services. We provide and perform the daily nursing tasks that students require to attend school each day, such as the management of type 1 diabetes, insulin administration, tube feedings, intermittent catheterizations, other nursing tasks and skills that are required for some students to attend school. We write health and safety plans for students with health conditions such as seizures and severe allergy and asthma. We conduct staff trainings for emergency treatment of anaphylaxis and diabetic and seizure emergencies. We conduct district-wide vision screenings. We do work on immunization compliance, and then we do a lot of connecting families to care and resources. We collaborate with teams to develop IEPs and 504 plans for students. So we do the work that keeps our students healthy and safe and their education accessible during the school day. Where our work overlaps with our school-based health centers is in our ability to refer students and families to these clinics for care. It's not uncommon at all to be working with families who are having difficulties accessing care, whether it's due to a gap in insurance or a lack of a primary care provider, lack of transportation, like Barnaby said, parents who are unable to take time off work. We're able to refer students for things like a concussion, a sports physical, a prescription refill, for any needed immunizations directly to our school-based health centers. So they're able to help us see our students for all of these types of appointments. And then I've been asked to share or to touch on the federal laws regulating health information. So HIPAA, or the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, that's the law that protects the privacy of health information, specifically an individual's identifiable patient information. HIPAA applies to most healthcare settings, such as physicians' offices, clinics, and hospitals. And FERPA is the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. It's the law that applies in an educational setting. FERPA protects the privacy of a student's educational records, and these records can be accessed by parents and guardians with educational rights. So school-based health centers are governed by HIPAA since they are health clinics. They are operating separately from our schools. And then a school nurse is governed by FERPA in almost all circumstances because we're operating within the school entity. So two exceptions just to note with these laws is that HIPAA permits a covered healthcare provider to notify a patient's family member for a serious and imminent threat to the health or safety of the patient or others. And also both laws, if required, to follow mandatory reporting laws.
So the Oregon Health Authority, or OHA, recently released this document. It's really helpful in understanding a lot of how HIPAA and FERPA work with school-based health centers and mental health and physical health in schools and just for youth. So we're going to go through this just a little bit and highlight some important information about these state and federal laws. They start by saying that when youth feel safe and supported in their healthcare needs and choices, they have better health outcomes. For some youth, this means having a parent or guardian involved in all of their healthcare. Other youth may benefit from receiving confidential services for some or all of their healthcare. Adults will want to be aware of minors' consent rights in order to support good communication with the youth in their lives.
Regarding consent for medical and dental services, Oregon statutes state that minors who are 15 years and older are able to consent to medical and dental services without parental guardian consent. This includes hospital care, as well as medical, dental, optometry, and surgical diagnostic care.
All right. In regards to consent for mental health, drug, or alcohol treatment, according to Oregon State Statutes 109.675, a minor who is 14 years or older may access outpatient mental health, drug, or alcohol diagnosis or treatment, except for methadone, without parental guardian consent, if those services are administered by a licensed provider. Providers are expected to involve parents and guardians.
And regarding family planning and sexual and reproductive health, Oregon statute states minors of any age can access age-appropriate reproductive health services, as well as testing and treatment for STIs without parental or guardian consent.
And I just want to point out that these are the state laws that govern school-based health centers, our school district nurses, and are required to be followed. So with the necessity of following the state and federal laws of HIPAA and FERPA, our school-based health centers also do the best that they can to involve parents and guardians. They want to share that their best practices that they follow say that it is a priority of the school-based health centers to involve parents and guardians in the care of their students. Providers at school-based health centers will communicate with parents and guardians and discuss as much information as they are able to.
Although Oregon law states that youth 15 and older can consent to their own health care, clinic staff make an effort to include parents and guardians in their students' health care and will also encourage students to communicate their health needs and concerns to their parents.
Thanks, Claire. So just to summarize, here's a list of services available to students at our school-based health centers. The medical care is provided by our medical doctors, nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, and support staff, like treating injuries, sports physicals, well child visits, immunizations. The school-based health centers can prescribe and dispense some stocked medications. They can provide age-appropriate reproductive services. And if a student has a primary care physician, the staff will encourage them to see their doctor for long-term care. The student can still be seen at the school-based health centers for acute and immediate care needs. The school-based health centers also offer dental services, including routine cleanings and other dental care, mental health therapy that we've talked about, whether it be individual, group, and family therapy. They welcome family members coming in to then, after they've started meeting with the student individually, to provide family therapy when appropriate. They can provide substance abuse treatment, and then also optometry and vision services. I am going to share one more video if we have time here. Before I do that, as I've mentioned before, we have 4 school-based health centers in our district. One is at MHS and MAW, one is at Rex Putnam High School, one is at Clackamas High School, and the 4th is at Adrian C. Nelson High School. The school-based health centers are open to any NCSD student, K through 12, not just the students at the high school. They're open to all students in our district, as well as students living within NCSD boundaries. While any student can go to a school-based health center, they typically go to the school-based health center closest to where they live. That's why they're spread out the way that they are. Typically, school-based health centers are open during school days, during school hours. You can check out our website, our Clackamas County's website, or Outside In's website for more specific hours. And it's also good to know that Clackamas County keeps at least one school-based health center open during the summer as well. And that's open to any NCSD student or a student living within the NCSD boundaries over the summer. If someone has a question or needs more information, like I said, you can check out our website or Outside In or Clackamas County's website. All right, let's see if I can do this video as well. This video is just a quick tour of the school-based health center at Milwaukee High School in Ma. So it's a fun way to get a visual of what it looks like.
Greetings and welcome to the Health and Wellness Center at Milwaukee High School. Here is the clinic lobby where you can schedule, check in, or learn more about a medical, dental, or mental health appointment. Here you'll fill out paperwork and wait for a medical assistant to take you to the exam room. It's important for us that our community feels incorporated into the design of our space, which is why we have a mural from a local artist alum and student art on display. The exam room is where you'll have your appointment with the medical provider, just like any other primary care office. We have the same equipment and supplies that you would find at any doctor's office. Our lab is designed to store medicine and medical supplies, such as vaccines, as well as any tests for patients. We can perform some tests on site and others we send to outside lab agencies, while always maintaining a strict level of confidentiality for our patients. We also provide dental services. Our dental hygienists can screen and clean students' teeth, as well as apply sealants to prevent future cavities. She can also make referrals to local dentist offices as needed. Students and their families may also access the food pantry that's open on Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. We supply our community with fresh produce and shelf-stable foods to make whole, healthy meals. We hope you enjoyed this virtual tour of our new space. Please feel free to contact us at 503-353-5847. Thanks and have a great day.
Right. The school-based health centers serve all students and remove barriers so that students can receive the care that they need. The services and medications provided to students are free of cost. For students with medical insurance, the service provider will bill for services rendered, but at no point will a parent or guardian be billed for health services. If the student needs to be referred to a specialist and there will be a fee, staff at the school-based health centers will work with parents or guardians to navigate options such as financial assistance. And I just want to close with sharing our vision in our North Clackamas School District strategic plan that aligns so much with this. The vision states that we build relationships with students to honor their cultural heritage, foster their physical, social, and emotional well-being, cultivate joy in learning, and engage each student to reach their full potential. We create environments where students are inspired to be creative and critical thinkers as they prepare for success in life, college, and career. Our partnerships with Clackamas County, Outside In, Life Stance, and Trillium, and the services they make available to our students at the school-based health centers allow us to better meet the physical, social, and emotional well-being of our students so that they can reach their full potential in the classroom and in their lives. As the students shared earlier, even with these amazing partnerships, there is still need and still more barriers to remove. I want to say thank you to those partners and the way they serve our students, and I want to share that we are so proud of these partnerships and that we are able to provide these services for free to students in a convenient, safe, and accessible way. And I also just want to thank you all for your time and attention, and ask if you have any questions for Claire and I.
So board, any questions? Since I can't see you, I will again just do a roll call here. Director Ford.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your presentation and just giving definitive clarity on some things that I know can be confusing for families because, you know, laws are confusing sometimes. So I appreciate you clarifying those things. I also appreciate the dedication that yourself and the staff have in making sure that kids are whole in their education experience. I do want to make a suggestion. I really appreciated this kind of when you first started, and I don't know if you want to go back to that very first slide, you had like a wheel of stuff or whatever. And on the right-hand side, you had this like, taking care of the student academically, you had a list of all these things. And then on the left-hand side, that's it. There was this wheel of all the things that kind of you guys do. My suggestion is, and I don't know where you're using this wheel, but because you are saying that you're so student-centered, instead of the building being in the center, I'd love to see the student being in the center of that visual, because it was difficult for me hearing you guys talk about the student being the center, but then I'm looking at a visual that says this building is the center of everything that you do. So that is just my only suggestion or observation, but I really appreciate the presentation and everything you guys said.
Thank you, Director Ford. Director McVeigh?
No, just thank you for the presentation. Big advocate for school-based health centers.
Yeah, Milwaukee had the first one where your kids went. Where am I? Oh, Director Schradel?
Just want to say thank you for the presentation and the services that you provide. It's very valuable to the students and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Way?
Yes, I have a comment and maybe two questions, but thank you so much for this presentation. I find it really helpful. I'm also just a huge fan of school-based health centers. I think the last time that I went to one was the opening of the Rex Putnam one, which was very exciting. And, I have a background in public health, so I'm just very, very excited about all the ways that we can do more prevention work, education work. And so I want to ask, because again, of just the stories that we're hearing from students, that it's the services are there, right? The care is there, but it's like, we just need more, right? Like we just need more social workers. We just need more mental health therapists. So, and again, I understand that this is a larger problem, like outside of just the North Clackamas School District to deal with, but is there anything, like what are we doing currently and looking into the future to get more providers in general, but also culturally specific providers? So that's like a two-part question. And then I also do really like the slide that Director Ford just earlier pointed to with the circle, the wheel. I don't know if we can go back to that one, because a question and a comment that I want to make there is, can we have dollars, quite frankly, of how much, our district is allocating or spending with each of those, slices of the pie, I guess. And then can we also, specify, right? Like, for example, mental health therapy, I'm just throwing that as an example out there, like that we were able to, as a district, get, one more professional or two more professional because of, increased state funding or the Student Success Act, because I just don't want that huge investment that was made by the state to be just like, tucked on the wayside. Because what we were hearing for the last couple of years, and some of the board members may remember, is there was a whole roadshow, done by state leaders, and mental health was like one of the top issues that was heard in so many school districts and so many different cafeterias, urban, rural, everywhere, even in our own district, where students were talking about the mental health needs, the more counselors. So I think it would just be important for the board to know, but also I think for the public to know, this is where those dollars were put in with that investment. And here's the gap also, right, that we're continually trying to fill. Because in my mind, like, a handful of counselors serving 1,300 kids, that's that's not the way to go, right? And we all know that. And that is a huge gap in terms of service need from just sort of what we're hearing from our students say tonight. So again, it's just, you know, where are the current investments, right? And then where can we hopefully grow from there or be more creative? So sorry, that was like a 2-part question. And then I kind of, became very passionate about just trying to look at the funding a little bit more. So I don't know if you all have like a response to that or getting more information.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer, and if Dr. Gomez, if you want to share as well, but thank you for that, and thanks for bringing that up. And you're right, this is not just a North Clackamas issue. The need for mental health services and the difficulty getting enough therapists. To me, it's not just a North Clackamas issue. It's not just our area. It's nationwide, and it's not just youth. It's adults too. There aren't enough mental health professionals. And so I know Dr. Gomez and I have increased the way that we have worked with our partners like LifeStance and Trillium in Clackamas County to see how we can get more mental health therapists, how we can get more mental health therapists who look like the students they serve. And so we're working really hard on that and trying to find creative ways to do that. We're trying to improve systems, working with our social workers and our therapists so that there's less time spent on the logistics and more time being able to meet with students. And it's still not enough and not meeting enough needs. So we're working, and we're going to keep at it for sure. And I appreciate everything you shared and said.
I will jump in and add that we will have a presentation coming up. Actually, I think it's at our next board meeting with our Director of Integrated Services. So that's like SIA, Measure 98, title. And so we'll be sharing some of the funding information, but we'll also make sure that we put some of that together for you as well.
Thank you, Superintendent James. So that answered your question, Director Ray?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, more to come at our next meetings. Vice Chair Benaloga.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for all the information. We all know that having those student-based health centers, we need to provide care where our kids are. And again, just bringing up the fact that for our community, that they know that it's available to all of the kids in our district, that they're able to access those. I do have a quick question, and I'm not sure which one of you would be able to expand on the additional resources, but you talked about that there are some prescriptions that are stocked, and there are some services and tests that we're able to do in the student-based health center. What kind of resources do we have when it is not something that is stocked or is able to be taken care of at the student-based health center? What kind of resources do we have for our families so that that care can still continue?
Great question. Thanks for asking. And I'm wondering if Claire, if you are able to answer, I know you could answer that better than me. So
I know that when we say stock medications, it has more to do with they just can't stock everything. They can provide some over-the-counter medications and some basic stock medications and antibiotics, but sometimes the prescription is something that they don't have on hand. So I don't think that it means it's not, they just can't keep everything in stock. So they can write prescriptions and students can go fill them at any pharmacy. It's not that care is denied, it's just what's available, if that makes sense.
So they don't need to pay for it out of pocket then?
So I really can't answer that. I think it would depend on the student's insurance, but I know that no one's denied care.
Okay, yeah, that was my question, is what kind of resources do we have if they don't have the financial means to take care of something that needs to be taken care of outside of the student-based health center? Do we have resources, or do we have spaces and places for them to be able to go to be able to continue that care so there isn't a gap in medical care?
Yeah. And I think every effort is made. I think it's each situation is its own and is specifics. And I don't work I'm a school district nurse. I don't work in the student-based health centers. But I have full confidence they have systems in place. And when I've met with them, there's a lot. Their work is just like any of the rest of ours. It's a lot of work to bridge gaps and get everyone exactly what they need. So I can't give you the specifics, but I have confidence in making every effort to. Go ahead, Barnaby.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say the school-based health center will work if the student needs something that is not available in the school-based health center. They will work with the family, with the student, to help them find it elsewhere and navigate that. And if there is a fee elsewhere, they'll help the family navigate that and try to find any kind of financial assistance if that's a barrier.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was great information that I think is needed in our community. And it convinced me, again, with these last two presentations, to lobby really hard in Salem for more resources. We need to help our kids succeed and remove those barriers. Thank you so much to all of you. Dr. Myra Gomez, Barnaby, and Claire, great presentation. Last agenda item, procurement of modular classrooms for Scouters Mountain Elementary. We had this discussion previously. I welcome Assistant Superintendent of Operations Cindy Dutchin for this agenda item.
Thank you, Chair Bauer. We completed our bid process, and I'm here tonight to seek your approval on awarding a contract in the amount of $456,340 to Modern Building Systems for the purchase and installation of 2 double classroom units that will be placed at Scouters Mountain Elementary to help us deal with some future enrollment growth there.
Are there any questions?
This is Director McVeigh. I move approval of superintendent's recommendation to award contract in the amount of $456,340 to Modern Building Systems for the purchase and installation of 2 double classroom units at Scouters Mountain Elementary.
Great, thank you, Director McVeigh. Is there a second?
Director Benaloga, second.
Thank you, Director Benaloga. Discussion? I hear someone trying to talk. No. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote on the motion. Director Ford.
Yes.
Director McVeigh.
Yes.
Director Schradel.
Aye.
Director Way.
Aye.
Vice Chair Benaloga.
Aye.
And myself is aye. So the motion passes with a vote of 6-0. Thank you, community, students and staff, for listening tonight. There was a lot of preparation for this meeting. There always is. We so appreciate all of your work, the students, the staff. And it's just very timely. It's something that we need to do. The students were so passionate, and we need to help get them the resources they know they need so they can continue to learn and flourish. So it's now 8:57 p.m. and this public meeting of North Clackamas School District of Directors is adjourned. Have a good evening. Thank you all.